The Mike Gallagher Show.
The question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this was I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
In the ReliefFactor.com studios, here's Mike.
Oh boy, not good. Not good. You didn't say you were there during the summer. You didn't say you were there during the protests. You said you were there during the Tiananmen Square uprising. And in one brief moment of normalcy, they called you out on it, Governor Walz, and you fell apart. And that's way more important to me than him misspeaking about being friends with school shooters, although he did say that. He certainly didn't mean to say that. And the Trump campaign pounced on it. Moments after he said it, they put up a campaign sign on their social media platform that said Trump Vance, and then in little small letters below that, it said Trump Vance 24, and then in small little letters below it said, not friends with school shooters. This was a rather unfortunate moment from Governor Walz last night.
I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it.
Yep. I hope not. I hope you're not friends with any school shooters. Somebody said he said it twice. And I got to be careful here. This is not comedic material. These school shootings are horrific. They're a scourge. They are a stain. They are frightening and awful. And I'm so pleased. Don't get me wrong. I do have a dark humor streak. If you know me, if you've listened to me for a while, if you follow me, I do kind of like dark humor. I'm a big fan of dark humor shows and comedies. I don't know. I just am. And so the Trump campaign, supposedly President Trump himself posted on social media, Tim Walz said he was friends with school shooters twice. Is he insane? And something about saying, what, are you insane? You're friends with school shooters? It just tickles me. It really does. Speaking of being tickled, one of the funniest guys on the planet in the history of comedy was Don Rickles. I'm a Don Rickles fanatic. Everything I see about the late Don Rickles, online or on TV, I always try to watch. I can't tell you how many people are texting me today on the MyPillow text line, sending me pictures of Don Rickles and Tim Walz, and they're right. He looks like Don Rickles. He comes off like Don Rickles. He's got the same kind of look, the same countenance, if you will. So thank you to everybody texting me on that MyPillow text line with those hysterical comparisons. I mean, look, here's Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. Mike, I keep seeing Don Rickles, the old-time comedian, being roasted by Dean Martin. He's a bit heavier, but his looks, his movements, everything is the same as Tim Walz. Well, look, Don Rickles was accomplished in what he did. This guy's an abject failure. Besides being perhaps the worst governor in Minnesota, the guy's, to quote my buddy Mark Davis, a goober. Can you fathom saying to the world, I'm a knucklehead? That could be the new campaign slogan. Kamala Harris, vote for us. We're knuckleheads. Here's what Tim Walz actually said last night as he was doing his hummina moment about lying, just a bald-faced lie about being in Tiananmen Square. Incidentally, this isn't like, there's not a shade of this. You know what I mean? There's no degree of this. This isn't like something out of context. You remember Tiananmen Square and the uprising there and the massacre and all that. That was in a specific point in time. Tim Walz said he was there, and he was not. He was fact-checked the same way the New York Times called out Richard Blumenthal, who lied about serving his country in Vietnam in combat. He's another stolen valor liar. And yet the dummies in Connecticut keep voting for that guy. I don't know how you can't see that. You want to bitch and moan about Trump's character? I don't remember Trump lying about serving in, Vietnam. You want to talk about a character flaw? I don't know Trump ever lied about how many college degrees he got or jobs he had. This is a billionaire who became a mega success. And to try to call him Mr. Are you serious? Tim Walz is a lying scoundrel. And so here he is in that terrible deer in the headlights moment, and he looked like a nervous wreck all night. I did feel sorry for him. I remember how tyrannical he is. That paintball video has got people just absolutely hysterical. They didn't know that really happened. It did happen. Police were shooting people on their front porch with paintball guns because they were violating Tim Walz's and Minneapolis's curfews during the George Floyd riots. I know what he did in COVID. I know what he's done with the abortion born alive problem. That horror. So he's a bad guy. But he wants you to think, I'm not a bad guy. I'm just a knucklehead.
You said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service.
Hey, stop
I joined the National Guard at 17.
That's the Kamala Harris approach. How are you going to fix the economy? I was raised in a middle-class family. Hey, Tim Walz, why'd you lie about Tiananmen Square? I was raised in rural Nebraska. They give their life story as an answer to a specific question. Let's continue.
Worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher. My first year out, I got the opportunity in the summer of '89 to travel to China. 35 years ago, be able to do that. I came back home and then started a program to take young people there. We would take basketball teams, we would take baseball teams, we would take dancers, and we would go back and forth to China. The issue for that was to try and learn. Now look, my community knows who I am. They saw where I was at. Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect, and I'm a knucklehead at times.
Now, if a Republican stood on a stage and said, my community knows I'm a knucklehead, I won't use any synonym. I won't say moron, imbecile, goober. I won't do any of that. Knucklehead. If a Republican 34 days before an election stood on a stage and said, I hope you'll vote for me because my community knows I'm a knucklehead, you'd laugh that person out of the room. You wouldn't even give them you wouldn't let them win dog catcher in Piqua, Ohio. And that's the guy who's the vice presidential running mate for the Democratic ticket. They got a real problem on their hands, and everybody knows it. 800-655-MIKE. Donna's in Anderson, South Carolina. Donna, welcome. How are you?
Oh, God, Mike, I want to nail those two twits, Margaret and Nora, I'm telling you. Number one, they kept saying, I've got a lot to cover. I am so sick of that. They did the same thing to Trump. Why cover a lot if they're not going to let him answer what they ask?
But Donna, that's their catchphrase. That's all they know to say. Yep. It's like saying when people say, it's time to go to our commercial break. Did you notice how every time one of them would stop, one of the candidates would stop talking, one of those dingbats would say, your time is up.
Your time is up.
Thank you. Well, we know it. They've stopped talking, dummy. I mean,
that
they
was
were
one
brutal.
of my points. That was one of my points.
Brutal, Donna. They were awful.
Also, Mike, did you see on your screen, there was a fact-checking strip at the bottom of the screen for the audience to use.
You're kidding me. Well,
I'm not kidding.
Well, it depends on what platform. Well, that wasn't on my platform, Salem News Channel.
It was on, I was watching on YouTube, and it was the CBS.
Yeah, see, because a lot of different platforms, I didn't see that. But look, they let everybody, a lot of platforms had it. And there's one place to go when there's things like this, Salem News Channel. And we carried the whole thing. We had Larry Elder with pre-debate coverage. I was a guest with Larry at about 7:20 Eastern Time. Andrew Wilkow did a great job with post-debate analysis, and we simulcast the debate, and it was everywhere. They let Salem News Channel have it. It's an interesting dance. You got to dance. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes work, but kudos to our team for navigating through that and getting it on the air. So, look, that's why you got to have the Salem News Channel app on your phone, on your computer, on your TV. I watch it on the big screen, and that's what I was watching last night. I was watching Salem News Channel. You can download the app, snc.tv. Of course, we're everywhere now with Roku and Pluto and just all kinds of platforms. You'll find it all at snc.tv. Salem News Channel, your antidote to the mainstream media. I'm trying to think about, as a talk show host, and I'm not a big deal. I host a talk show. And I don't ever think I'm the smartest guy in the world, but I'm pretty good at what I do. I'm not going to denigrate myself and pretend that I haven't achieved a measure of success. I'm trying to think of what I could ever say about myself that would be the equivalent of I'm a knucklehead in a professional context. I mean, the most and I'm a pretty self-deprecating guy. I got lots of warts. I got lots of flaws. I have lots of failings. I'm sure not perfect, and I always cringe when some of my fellow broadcasters brag about themselves. For some reason, that's like fingernails on a chalkboard to me. Oh, I've written all these books, and I'm this, and I'm that, and here's my resume, and look at how great I am. And the only guy that did it wonderfully was Rush, and that's because Rush Limbaugh did it with tongue in cheek. It was satirical. It was the bombast was part of his performance, and he was brilliant at it, and he was funny, and he was likable. I know some people who do it, and it's none of those things. It's just obnoxious. It's me. So I'm trying to think of what I ever say about myself that would put myself down that way, the way Tim Walz did last night. I think the worst I say is I'm a big mouth talk show host. I got a big mouth. But I would never tell you, well, I'm a moron. I think I'm an imbecile. My community, which is you, my audience, knows I'm a moron. I'm a doofus. I'm a goober. I'm a knucklehead. That's his line. He said this last night in front of millions of viewers.
You said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service. I joined the National Guard at 17, worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher. My first year out, I got the opportunity in the summer of '89 to travel to China. 35 years ago, be able to do that. I came back home and then started a program to take young people there. We would take basketball teams, we would take baseball teams, we would take dancers, and we would go back and forth to China. The issue for that was to try and learn. Now look, my community knows who I am. They saw where I was at. Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect, and I'm a knucklehead at times.
Now, I just noticed in that clip, somebody called and told me that, and I didn't see it on my platforms. The caller who said there was fact-checking, there's a QR code on the CBS feed that I just played that said for fact-checking, click, you know how you put your camera up to the QR code? We'll give you a list of fact checks. So I did it just now, just for grins, to see how reprehensible CBS is. Because surely CBS, the first thing they would fact check on when you click on that QR code is Walz lying about the abortion law in Minnesota that he signed. Is Walz lying about being in Tiananmen Square? Surely they'll put that up there, right? Of Walz lying about the inflation numbers he lied all night long. So I stupidly clicked on the QR code. Sure enough, here comes the article. CBS News, fact-checking VP debate claims from Walz and Vance's 2024 showdown. What's the first fact check? Misleading. Vance claims Trump peacefully gave over power on January 20th. I mean, that is such. What happened on January 20th? I thought all the bad stuff happened on January 6th. I'm sorry, did Trump barricade himself in the Oval on January 20th? You know what he didn't do? He didn't show up to the inauguration. I guess that's CBS's fact-checking way of saying he was committing an insurrection. These guys are such clowns. Oh, my gosh. Fact check. Vance says Iran received over $100 billion in frozen assets. False. Fact check. Vance says Trump. I'm reading this in order of the fact-checking that CBS is doing. I'm telling you, and I mean this from the heart, you don't hate the legacy media enough. You think you hate them? They're almost satanic. I'm reading in order the article of the fact checks. False. Vance says Trump would have destroyed Obamacare. Fact check. Vance claims DHS has effectively lost 320,000 children. Misleading. I'm scrolling down here. I'm doing this in real time. Walz claims border crossings are down compared to when Trump left office. True. Needs context. Of course, that's true. I'm scrolling down. False. Back to Vance again. Vance says the vice president became the appointed border czar. They're fact-checking at CBS. They're doing their work. Vance claims housing unaffordable because millions of illegals compete with Americans for scarce homes. Partially true, it says. Needs context. Walz claims when Iranian missiles did fall near U.S. troops and they received traumatic brain injuries, Trump wrote it off as headaches. Mostly true. This is unbelievable. That's the CBS QR code that leads you to a CBS propaganda article that fact-checked the debate. They are absolutely disgusting. So they mixed in the Tiananmen Square thing. Finally, false. Walz claimed he was in China during Tiananmen Square. Okay, they spent a little bit of time on that. Then they go back to Walz claims that John Kelly called Trump the most flawed human being he ever met. True! Oh, really? Is that a fact check, CBS? People don't like Donald Trump? No. Now what? Now that's journalism right there. Now that's some journalism. That's huge. That's a big deal. Oh my gosh. Again, you don't hate them enough. You think you hate them? They are loathsome. They are lower than a whale's belly at the bottom of the sea. They are corrupt. They're disingenuous. They're dishonest, and they reek to high heaven.